Hello, welcome back to another breaking news update. My name is Jimmy Boyd, and you were watching Boyd News. I want to thank you so much for tuning in today. I'm back with some more updates coming out from the Russia and Ukraine war. And as we can see here on the screen, another major attack inside of Ukraine, this time targeting Lviv. Looks like two other cities came under attack as well. This is on the western side of Ukraine. Another massive attack from Russian missiles striking their city. Volodymyr Zelensky, the president of Ukraine, was reporting that ordinary residential buildings, schools, and medical facilities in the city were damaged. We've got reports of 7 people killed, 30 injured. Okay, guys, 3 of these unfortunately being children. There was like an apartment building that was struck. I've got a whole story regarding that. It's very sad. 3 children were unfortunately taken out in an airstrike from one of these missiles that targeted this building. So, very massive hit inside Ukraine once again, and this has been happening almost every single day for the last almost 2 weeks now, I want to say. So I'm sure some of you guys are probably becoming desensitized to these attacks as they are happening so frequently, but I can assure you that the people of Ukraine are absolutely fed up with this and they want something done about this. There's obviously solutions to this problem, and these solutions are obviously being ignored by Western powers right now. The United States and NATO members are not allowing Ukraine to go after these airfields and prevent these attacks. Now, would it stop these attacks completely? Maybe not completely, but it would definitely help a little bit and probably stop some of these glide bomb attacks especially. But the missile attack could definitely still continue, and that's another reason why Ukraine is calling for more air defenses as well, as they don't have enough to cover the skies of their country. So definitely another major hit. We just reported yesterday inside of Poltava, that education training facility for Ukraine's military, coming under attack. We had well over 50 people now, as of today's date, September 4, 2024, that have been killed in that attack as well. So literally almost every day, guys, major attacks happening. So let's go ahead and jump into the news so I can start sharing some of these details with you. We're going to hop on over here to X. This is from Volodymyr Zelensky, the president of Ukraine. Russian missiles against our cities and people. The strike on Lviv killed 5 people, including a 14-year-old girl. My condolences go out to the families and loved ones of the victims. More than 30 people were injured. Ordinary residential buildings, schools, and medical facilities in the city were damaged. So this came out yesterday, okay? So this is kind of old information from Volodymyr Zelensky right around the time the attack happened. Where I got these 7 people that were killed, I got that off of ABC News that was reported today. So it's probably some updated information, but we know for sure over 30 people injured, okay? In the Russian attack on Kryvyi Rih, 5 people were injured. Homes and civilian infrastructure were damaged. Our emergency services are on site doing everything necessary to eliminate the aftermath of the attack. All the injured are receiving the required assistance. So apparently some reports as well coming out from Kryvyi Rih. Sorry if I'm not pronouncing that right, but there looks like there was another attack there as well. 5 people injured. And it says here, every one of our partners around the world who helps Ukraine with air defense is a true defender of life. Anyone who convinces partners to provide Ukraine with long-range capabilities, enabling us to respond justly to terror, is working to prevent such Russian terrorist strikes on Ukrainian cities. Terror must be stopped. So we got a few photos here coming out from Volodymyr Zelensky. We can clearly see major damage here. This building was destroyed. Clearly there was a fire here as well. And look at that, guys. Massive damage here. Multiple buildings struck from this missile. And I don't know exactly what the objective here was either, but I will let you guys know I do have a report that's talking about that there may have been some NATO mercenaries or troops here inside of Lviv, which would not surprise me if that was the case. This is on the western side of Ukraine. We've heard a lot about Western troops being inside of this city or nearby. So we'll talk about that here in just a minute. Here's one more photo coming out from Volodymyr Zelensky again. So there we can see on the top up here, major damage to the top of this building. Emergency crews having to save somebody out of their window as they probably couldn't get out of this building. So definitely another major hit inside of Ukraine. Once again, guys, like I said, this has been happening almost every day for 2 weeks now. And I don't think this is going to stop. I think this is going to continue. We're going to see this almost every single day inside of Ukraine right now because Russia is not messing around anymore. And they are very upset by the fact that Ukraine launched that incursion into the Kursk region. So let's move on to our next update. This came out yesterday. I just want to bring this to you guys. That way you're aware of what happened prior to the attack inside of the western regions of Ukraine. So the informant reported yesterday warning launch of caliber missiles from the Black Sea. It appears to be a large-scale attack with multiple launch platforms involved, including drones. 4 Tu-22 M3 bombers were reported launching missiles over the Black Sea. 2 MiG-31Ks launched Kinzhal missiles reportedly at targets in western Ukraine. These were the hypersonic missiles being used that were striking Lviv, from what I understand. So far, explosions have been confirmed in Lviv, Rovno, and Lutsk in western Ukraine. Several explosions were reported in the Lviv region. So we have like a little picture here of a map of Ukraine. So Lviv is kind of close over here, very close to the border of Poland, and Lutsk and Rovno are kind of up in this region. They're a little bit more north, I'd say northeast from where Lviv is at, but probably somewhere up in this region is kind of where Rovno and Lutsk are at. Okay, so we got 2 videos as well. These videos don't have any, there's no visual representation of anything, but we do have some sound of explosions, and we're able to hear what appears to sound like a drone flying and crashing. So take a look at these real quick. So just a quick video. We definitely don't see anything here. It's pitch black, but we can definitely hear something landing and exploding and a car alarm going off as well. So we've got one more video here that what appears to sound like a drone flying over a town and crashing and blowing up. So take a look at this as well. Okay, so again, that does sound like a drone that was flying. I don't know if maybe I'm wrong about that. If you guys think that was something else, let me know down in the comments below. But it definitely sounded like a drone flying and then crashing and blowing up somewhere. So very crazy to see that. I do have lots of video footage coming out from Lviv though. So let's go to our next update. And from Jurgen Nodit, this Ukrainian man is crying. Yaroslav from Lviv lost his entire family today. With all my heart, I hate Biden and all so-called leaders of Europe who do nothing. You have proven in 30 months that you slept through history class. Europeans are hiding behind the senile Biden so as not to have to decide anything. But if Ukraine loses, completely different problems will befall our Europe. So we have a video of a man who was rescued from this building, and unfortunately he lost his wife, and I think he had 2 or 3 children. We'll go over that report here in just a moment. He was the only person to survive, so go ahead and take a look at this real quick. Very sad. So very, very sad to see this, guys, that this man unfortunately lost his family. He was the only one to survive in this strike inside of his apartment that he was staying in. So I've got this report pulled up over here next as well. And as we can see, there's a photo of him and his family. That's his 3 children and his wife that were unfortunately killed in this attack. And he was the only one to survive. It says right here from Kiev Post, after today's Russian attack on Lviv, only the man in this photo survived. His wife and 3 daughters were killed by Russia tonight in their own home. Okay, so very, very unfortunate, horrible situation to have to see this. And yes, this man did lose his entire family. I mean, imagine being this man, losing your whole family and being the only one left alive after this major strike. I would definitely be very upset by this. And obviously this war needs to come to an end, man. Lots of people are suffering over here that don't need to be suffering. Lots of innocent people that don't want to be involved in this conflict. And this is what they have to go through, okay? So it's very, very sad to see that. So also, let's go ahead and move on to Megatron Ron. Now, take a look at this. New. Overnight, Russia targeted another hotel full of NATO personnel in Lviv. The attack comes just a day after Russians blew up a hotel in Poltava full of NATO instructors and Ukrainian military personnel that left around 700 dead and injured. Okay, so this is what I was telling you guys yesterday, that there was some reports going around of some people saying that there was even NATO instructors or military personnel that were actually inside the building. What was originally being reported in Poltava yesterday that I reported to you guys in that education training facility, that got struck by 2 Iskander ballistic missiles, from what I understand. That there was only civilians inside that building, but some people are reporting that there was NATO instructors there as well, Ukrainian military personnel, and now we have a hotel here in Lviv that was targeted and supposedly may have had NATO personnel in it. So regardless, I mean, definitely a major attack inside of Lviv and lots of people that have been injured and killed. But let's take a look at these 2 videos real quick. So just a 5-second clip, we can see lots of damage here. These cars have been destroyed. We've got damage to this building over here, rubble all over the ground. Lots of fire department members here trying to help out at the scene, rescue people that may be trapped inside the building. But it's just absolutely horrible, guys. Horrible scenes to see. One more video to take a look at real quick. Okay, so this appears to maybe be that hotel that Megatron Ron is talking about. This definitely looks like a hotel to me. But this is also the later aftermath of the video that we originally showed you guys on the waiting screen when you came in. This is that van that was on fire parked out front, and this building was on fire. So this building took a direct hit, blew up that car. We can see all the windows blown out here too. So very massive attack inside of Ukraine once again, guys. Let's move on to our next update. Also, from Jane Kiev, Russians using their fastest, most accurate missiles to target the residential historical center of Lviv. Just massacres now. While Ukraine continues to abide by allies, demands that Russia's launchers are protected. So we've got video of a Russian missile smashing into Lviv. Take a look. This looks to be a very, very powerful missile coming in, slamming into what looks like a building over here. Maybe this is another angle of that hotel that was just destroyed that we were taking a look at. It looks like somebody was able to capture this on camera as this missile was coming in. So they probably heard these other missiles coming in the background. So they started recording and happened to capture this one landing just, what is that, maybe 100 feet from them. It's not too far away. So very, very scary to have to see that. Imagine being so close to that missile as it's coming in. Also from Igor Sushko, Russian fascists double tap the original strike sites on civilians in Ukraine by launching additional missiles at the same targets with a delay to murder first responders as well. This happened in Lviv this night. The West just spews garbage, words like "we stand with Ukraine." So obviously Igor Sushko is a major supporter of Ukraine. He was born there, as you can see, born in Ukraine, but he is American. And he repeatedly follows the story going on in Ukraine and reports on it very often. We use his reports quite a bit. So obviously he's very upset by this. But this is the video that we can see that I showed you guys on the waiting screen when you came in. But we'll go ahead and watch it full screen. Take a look. So this definitely looks right around the time when this strike took place. As we can see, this car is still on fire at the time, and earlier it wasn't. This building is still heavily on fire. And obviously, again, guys, major hit to Ukraine. Very unfortunate situation for them. So let's go ahead to our last updates regarding Lviv from Richard Woodruff. My beautiful Lviv. Its historic center is in ruins. If Russia can't enslave us, it will seek to destroy us. We are 1,000 kilometers from the front lines, and we are not safe. Please, America, we are all begging you, please just allow us to destroy the bomber planes. So, as we can see, yet another person coming out from Ukraine asking for help and asking to go after these bombers that are striking these targets inside of Ukraine. And many of these missiles that do fly in even to the western side of Ukraine, okay, they're not all coming from Russia's warships. They come from their bomber planes like the Tu-95s, Tu-22s. Many of these bomber planes are firing these missiles before they enter into Ukraine, okay? So we can see major damage here. Here's another picture. I don't know if that building got damaged here, but it looks like we've got a fire breaking out here, and this building for sure was destroyed. And one more picture here. Another building completely destroyed. So this looks like another angle. Here's that van that we were looking at earlier that was on fire. We can see the major destruction to this building. And one video. Okay, so this appears to be another building as well that was damaged and destroyed. We can see a fire breaking out over here. And again, guys, 7 people killed in these attacks, 30 plus injured. Okay, I'm sure this number is expected to rise. Who knows? These numbers may even be much lower than what they actually are. They could be a lot higher than what's being reported. Maybe they're just trying not to make the situation appear as bad as it really was. But for sure, we had lots and lots of buildings that were struck here inside of Lviv. So very unfortunate for the Ukrainians. So we're going to go ahead and move on now, guys. This was some very big news that came out yesterday. And there was some reports coming out from a mainstream media publication called Ukrainska Pravda. And they were starting to report that the Ukrainian foreign minister, Dmytro Kuleba, was going to be resigning or being fired. So now we had this report coming out late in the evening yesterday from Nexta. Ukrainian foreign minister Dmytro Kuleba has resigned from his post. This was written on Facebook page by the speaker of the Verkhovna Rada Ruslan Stefanchuk. Ukrainska Pravda, citing sources close to President Zelensky, reported that Kuleba was to be dismissed, and the first deputy head of foreign ministry, Andriy Sibiga, I don't know if I'm saying that right, sorry guys, these names are so hard, was to be appointed foreign minister instead. Okay, so looks like he is going to be replaced, and Dmytro Kuleba has been the foreign minister throughout the duration of this war. From what I understand, I believe he has been. And this is a completely random thing that I didn't expect to happen. And it looks like we're having another major shakeup within Ukraine's government. And this happens a lot. You know, whenever we see major failures inside of Ukraine, we happen to see major shakeups. What did we just see with that F-16 that crashed recently? Immediately after that, the top commander of Ukraine's Air Force was fired. Okay, so now we had this major attack in Poltava yesterday. A day later, now the Ukrainian foreign minister, Dmytro Kuleba, is being fired, okay, or at least resigning. So, yeah, major information coming out here in regards to Ukraine's government. I also have some information pulled up here as well because we had more government officials resigning as well. Okay, so from the BBC, Ukraine's foreign minister resigns as government reshuffle is expected. Okay, so Dmytro Kuleba, the foreign minister, resigns, right? It says right here, Ukraine's Minister of Foreign Affairs, Dmytro Kuleba, has stepped down from his role as part of a wide-ranging reshuffle of the Ukrainian cabinet. Several Ukrainian officials also resigned from their posts on Tuesday, leaving some of the government's top jobs vacant, including the Strategic Industries Minister in charge of weapons production. And it says down here, those who handed in their resignations on Tuesday included Strategic Industries Minister Alexander Kamyshin. Okay, he's in control of Ukraine's weapons production. Justice Minister Denis Malyuska, Environmental Protection Minister Ruslan Strilets, Deputy Prime Ministers Ola Stefanishnya, that's kind of hard to say, and Irina Verushuk, and the head of Ukraine's State Property Fund, Vitaly Koval. Okay, so lots of top leaders of Ukraine starting to step down. And what's the major reason for this? I know we've been seeing massive attacks inside of Ukraine recently, but definitely we're seeing a major reshuffle inside of Ukraine's government. So I thought I would share that with you guys. As you know, generally when we see major failures inside of Ukraine, that's when we start to see lots of people being fired. Okay, so big news coming out from Ukraine. Now let's move on to Alex Rafoglu. Just now, I asked the President of the United States, Joe Biden, about Ukraine's request to lift restrictions on American weapons to strike back at Russian bases. I made it clear what we support and what don't support, he replied. So this is Joe Biden. We're not going to watch the whole video. It's 40 seconds, but I want to show you the part where he is asked, are you going to lift restrictions for Ukraine to strike back at these airfields and all these targets inside of Russia? And he basically says, no, we're not going to. So take a look.
Mr. President, on Ukraine, have you seen Ukraine's request to lift restrictions on American weapons that they can strike back on Russian bases?
I've made it clear what we propose, what we support.
Mr. President, how is it to be back on the...
Okay, so we'll pause it there. If you weren't able to hear what was being said there, the reporter was basically saying, are you going to lift restrictions on Ukraine to strike Russian bases in their country? And then he basically says, I've made it very clear what we support and what we don't support. Thank you, is what he said. Okay, so basically he's not commenting on whether they're going to allow Ukraine to strike Russian military airfields or any targets inside of Russia, long-range strikes in general. And this is basically the same thing we've been hearing. I've made it clear what we support and don't support, okay? So that's basically him saying they are not going to allow Ukraine to strike inside of Russian territory. So what is this going to leave Ukraine up to? They're going to have to produce their own weaponry to start striking targets inside of Russia. And they're doing that right now. But we just heard a report coming out, I think it was yesterday. I'm not sure if I went over this with you guys. But Volodymyr Zelensky was coming out and saying that they don't have the funds to maintain these weapons programs like these ballistic missiles and the Palinitsia drones, that they have them produced, but they don't have the funds to continue producing them. So that's obviously a major problem for Ukraine as well. Now, you can have all the weaponry you want, but if you don't have the funds to continuously produce these weapons, you're not going to be able to strike these targets inside of Russia. So looks like Ukraine could be at a dead end when it comes to that unless they're able to get some funding. So we'll find out what happens in regards to that later. And also from Kharkiv, Kharkiv bids farewell to 14-year-old Sofia Glinyana, a displaced person from Kupiansk. Sofia was tragically killed in a Russian attack on August 30th when she was brutally decapitated by shrapnel while sitting on a bench near children playing. When she was a 9th grade student at Kupiansk Lyceum number 1 and dreamed of becoming a psychologist. Sofia's father is currently missing in action on the Donetsk front. Okay, so this was the female who lost her life in Kharkiv that I was telling you guys about, I think yesterday. She was sitting on a bench inside of Kharkiv near a playground, and a Russian missile came in, and shrapnel, unfortunately, took her head off, okay? And I hate to have to say that because it sounds very brutal, but that was what happened to her, okay? It was a very unfortunate situation, and there was pictures floating around online. I can't show them here, obviously, but she lost her life, okay, due to a Russian missile coming in and landing inside of Kharkiv near her place of residence, okay? So it was very, very sad day for this family here, and I wanted to share this with you guys and give you an update and show you that. And apparently her father is also missing in action, fighting in the Donetsk region. So very horrible situation here, guys. So also, Clash Report is reporting Russia used 48N6DM missile of the S-400 air defense system in a surface-to-surface mode during missile attack on Kiev on the morning of September 2nd, 2024. So that was just a couple days ago when Kiev came under attack. I reported that to you guys. Ukrainian air defense successfully intercepted and destroyed the 48N6DM missile. When used in surface-to-surface mode, it has low accuracy and poses a significant threat to civilian infrastructure. The missile has a powerful 180-kilogram warhead with numerous fragments, increases its destructive potential against civilian targets. So Russia does use these air defense missiles to target inside of Ukraine. They're not only used to shoot down, drones or anything coming into their territory, but they also use these to strike inside of Russia, or strike inside of Ukraine. Excuse me. The source was Defense Express, and look at that, guys, 180-kilogram warhead, definitely a very massive size missile. So let's go ahead and move to our next update. Max 24 reports Russia transferred 60,000 troops from Ukraine to Kursk, although the Pokrovsk direction did not undergo a significant reduction, says Zelensky. This is very big news, okay, because we weren't hearing anything close to 60,000 troops being transferred. I heard somewhere maybe upwards of 10 to 20,000, but apparently Zelensky's coming out and saying that 60,000 troops were transferred from the Eastern Front. Is that possible over to the Kursk region? Maybe, yeah, because obviously it's an incursion into their territory. They obviously need to put a stop to it, right? But 60,000 seems a little high to me based on the numbers that I've been hearing, but that's what Volodymyr Zelensky was saying. And yes, I would agree with him. Definitely in the Pokrovsk direction on the Eastern Front and in the Donetsk region, we are not seeing any reduction in attacks from the Russians. If anything, they're picking up their attacks and striking harder and pushing faster. Okay, so big news coming out from there. Kiev Independent reports Norway pledges 53 million for drones air defense to Ukraine. Oslo contributed 570 million Norwegian kroner, around 53.3 million, to purchase more drones and air defense systems for Ukraine. The Norwegian government announced on September 3rd. Okay, so yesterday, Norway pledging 53 million for drones and air defense for Ukraine. So it looks like another pretty good sized package in terms of drones going to Ukraine very soon. And also, we got an update coming out from Belarus. Military news UA, the transfer of units of the Belarusian army to the Ukrainian border continues. In the photo, T-72B tanks with the tactical sign B. More pictures coming out as of yesterday, September 3rd, 2024, of more Belarusian tanks with these tactical signs of B on it. We can see it right there, heading over to the border of Ukraine. And I talked to you guys, I think, about this yesterday, the day before, that we were seeing more pictures coming out of more military units heading to the border of Ukraine. So this is still ongoing right now, okay? Just over the last 24 hours or so, we're still seeing Belarusian military equipment heading to the border with Ukraine. So who knows, are they going to launch an attack on Ukraine, or are they just preparing to be invaded by Ukraine? Who knows? We've been talking a lot about that lately. Also from Gabe, the Russians are attacking Ukrainian positions north of Ogledar, which I believe is Volodar, with a massive wave of thermobaric rockets. The thing is with this weapon is that trenches won't keep you safe. So this video doesn't have any sound, but we can definitely see here in the video, it's very clear to see lots of these thermobaric rockets going off. Some people were saying that these were cluster munitions. They don't look like cluster munitions to me, because cluster munitions are generally a lot smaller, and these are producing a bright light whenever they strike the ground. So I would believe more that these are thermobaric rockets, but if they're not, let me know what you think down below, because some of the people that were chatting in regards to this video were saying that these were not thermobaric rockets. But this is what we see a lot of on the Eastern Front right now, okay? This is why Ukraine is struggling to hold the line. They are getting hammered by missiles and rockets repeatedly every single day. And how do you defend yourself from that? You really can't. Ukraine doesn't have any air defense, and so they just get pounded by these rockets, as we can see, lots and lots of them coming in. And again, this is near Volodar. I showed you guys a video yesterday in our update regarding Poltava that Volodar was getting hit by rockets as well. Okay, massive shelling on the Eastern Front in the Donetsk region. So we'll go ahead and move to our next update. Also, for military news UA, United States is preparing a new military aid package for Ukraine in the coming weeks, White House spokesman John Kirby said. Okay, so this is a picture of a HIMARS system, and it looks like another military package coming from the United States. But something, if you noticed, I'm not sure if you guys have been paying attention, but these military aid packages to Ukraine have been significantly smaller than they have been in the past, okay? Towards the first year and a half going into this war, many of the aid packages, if they were just approved by President Biden and bypassed through Congress, we would see many times 700 million, 800 million going to Ukraine. Now, lately, we've been seeing barely 100 to 200 million at a time going to Ukraine. And this is only a drop in the bucket in terms of fighting this war for Ukraine. They obviously need billions and billions of dollars at a time. And we continue to hear from Ukraine. They don't have enough money. They don't have enough supplies. And some people would say, well, we shouldn't be sending anything over there. And then some people say we should be sending everything over there. But at the end of the day, what I have been seeing when it comes to these aid packages, they are definitely getting smaller and smaller as time is dragging on, okay? And that is definitely indicative that support is starting to pull away from the West, okay? The West is slowly pulling their support for Ukraine, and they're not giving them as much weaponry as they were before. And why is that? Are they maybe afraid that a war is going to break out between NATO and Russia? Maybe they want to have their own supplies as well. That's possible. But there's obviously a number of other situations that could arise, and maybe that's the reason why they're not giving as much aid to Ukraine. But definitely the aid has started to slowly trickle on over, and it's not being as massive as it was towards the beginning of the war. Also from Nexta, Microsoft has started disconnecting Russian companies from cloud services, including Microsoft 365, Office 365, and Teams, Russian media reports. This is big news right here, okay? Microsoft coming out, starting to cut off Russian companies from using their cloud service. Now, obviously, there's other companies they could go to for cloud services, but this is one big step, okay? Microsoft is a huge company, okay? And if they're cutting off their support for Russia, then obviously that's pretty big, right? Okay, one of the biggest cloud services in the entire world cutting off their support for Russia, and we're seeing more and more companies doing this, and this could definitely force other smaller companies that offer cloud services to do the same. So this is obviously one of those big steps in what some people would say is the right direction to stop funding Russia and providing, information or money or whatever it is that Russia is receiving off of using their cloud services to support this war in Ukraine. So very big news coming out from Microsoft. Also from Sergei Sumleny, right now, Russians have hit SUI State University with a gliding bomb. I routinely tag President of the United States, which is Biden, Bundeskanzler, and Jake Sullivan 46. Okay, so we've got a picture here of the SUI State University being attacked by a Russian glide bomb. This was reported yesterday. So we know SUI came under attack, I think, 2 days ago. So this might have been when this attack took place, about 48 hours ago. But we did not hear about this at first. I had no idea that a university was struck by a glide bomb, but looks like that was the case here inside of SUI. We've been seeing lots of attacks in SUI because SUI is one of the major towns just over the border in Ukraine, close to the Kursk offensive, with the Ukrainians operating in the Kursk region. Also from Prune 60, Russian railways reported the biggest collapse in freight traffic in Russia in 2 years. Okay, this is a pretty big report right here. Russian railways reporting the biggest collapse. Okay, what have we seen a lot inside of Russia? Lots of trains derailing recently. Lots of attacks on trains as well. Drones attacking trains. Lots of railways being sabotaged. Explosions. Lots of their trains have been damaged or destroyed. Some of them derailing at times as well. All across Russia, but primarily on the western side. I've reported this a few times to you guys, shown you some reports, probably more further back, maybe 2 months or before that, where we started to hear this. But definitely Russia's railway system taking a major hit, and what they're considering a collapse in freight traffic. Okay, so this is very, very big news. This shows how much damage has been done to their railway system. And obviously Russia uses a lot of their railways to transport their military equipment. So that's got to be doing something when it comes to the Russian military, okay? So also, says here, Max 24, Russia is changing its missile tactics and will increase the degree of escalation. This is Mikhail Podolyak. He is a Ukrainian politician. They stopped completely masking what they're doing. Missiles can reach any part of Ukraine. These are deliberate strikes on residential buildings to shock the population. I would have to agree with that, okay? That's most likely what the point of these missile strikes are. If they're not going after military targets, as we heard that report earlier, that there may have been NATO mercenaries or personnel, troops, whatever you want to call them, inside of some of these buildings in Lviv, and also maybe the Poltava Military Training Center, Education Training Center that was struck yesterday. If it's not going after these military targets like potential NATO troops or Ukrainian troops in some of these buildings, then yes, obviously it would be designed to shock the population, create distrust within the government, make the people feel as if they're not safe. And obviously that's one of the biggest things that you want to do if you want to start to take over a nation. And we're seeing Russia do that right now, okay? Russia's continuously pressing on in the Eastern Front. They have no plans to stop. They're going to continue this war until they push deep enough into Ukraine. And imagine when this war gets further and further into Ukraine, let's say the midway point or getting close to Kiev. Okay, it could definitely be a very dangerous situation, but that's probably, obviously, maybe months or years down the line if that were to be the case, considering that Ukraine can hold the front line. Also from ViceGrad24, got a couple more reports, guys. Thanks for your patience. Japan just transferred 97 units of heavy equipment to Ukraine. The equipment will improve services in the fields of transport, water supply, and processing waste. In addition, Ukraine will soon receive a significant amount of generators. It's part of a deal worth $175 million, okay? So it looks like a support package as well coming from Japan. And I just talked to you guys just the other day about whether some of the Asian partners were going to start supporting Ukraine. Now, I want to say this isn't the first support package Japan has ever sent to Ukraine, but it looks like this isn't anything to do with like military support. It says more like transport, water supply, processing waste, and heavy equipment going to Ukraine. So I'm assuming this heavy equipment is most likely not military equipment. It is more to help, restructure, rebuild their country, probably, clean up debris whenever attacks take place, things like that. but definitely, nonetheless, a major support package going to Ukraine. Also from Bliskovka, Great Britain has signed a contract for the purchase of 152 millimeter ammunition for Ukraine in the amount of 393 million, reports the Department of Defense of Great Britain. By the end of the year, 120,000 shells will arrive, which will significantly replenish Ukrainian stocks. In addition, 8 countries joined Great Britain in providing more than 1.3 billion to the International Fund for Ukraine. Okay, so looks like a bunch of artillery shells, 120,000 by the end of the year, heading to Ukraine, coming from Great Britain. Okay, so massive support again coming from another NATO member. Going to be sending lots of artillery shells to Ukraine. Also, from next up, former Russian Deputy Defense Minister Pavel Popov has been accused of fraud on a particularly large scale, the Russian Investigative Committee said. Look at this, guys. I literally just reported yesterday another top Kremlin official being arrested or accused of fraud or bribery. Now we have yet again in Russia's defense ministry. This is probably, I don't know, 10 or more top officials in Russia's defense ministry being arrested or accused of fraud, bribery. What is going on over here in Russia's defense ministry and in the Kremlin and the Russian military? I don't know what is going on, but definitely something big is going down when it comes to Russia's the Kremlin and their defense ministry, especially their defense ministry. I've reported that much more than anything. And lots of people being arrested and accused of things that are definitely not good, right? So I wanted to share that with you guys. Also, Clash Report, Russian army is also testing Ukraine's Dragon Breath FPV drones to deploy thermite incendiary munitions. It can reach temperatures exceeding 2,400 degrees Celsius, approximately 4,000 degrees Fahrenheit when ignited. Typically consists of iron oxide and aluminum powders. So we've got even the Russians now apparently testing these FPV drones that Ukraine has been using. They're calling them Dragon's Breath drones that deploy thermite, okay? Thermite incendiary munitions, and they drop these over like large pieces of forest, or if there's like a trench line with trees, they'll drop these over the trees and burn out all the troops that are inside. And these things get very hot, so if they fall on you, it's definitely going to burn you very badly, and potentially you could lose your life. So take a look at this. We're not going to watch the whole thing. It's a minute long, but I want to show you guys this thing in action. The Russians are using these now too.
Поджигай.
All right, so isn't that pretty crazy to see this? I mean, the amount of technology advancement in today's world is insane to me. I can't believe, like, we see drones like this being used all over the battlefield. And, you know, Ukraine uses a lot of these too. They attach explosives to them, crash them into tanks, logistic vehicles, IFVs, all kinds of tanks get destroyed from these little mini drones that are being used, okay? And these things are so cheap. They're not expensive at all. So they're definitely a very lucrative item to use, and very effective at the same time, because they're so cheap to use, and it doesn't have to risk a soldier, okay? So a human life. You can use something simply like a drone. If it gets destroyed, well, it's just a tiny little drone, okay? And it's worth, sometimes, I told you guys, they can be as cheap as like $30, okay? $20 sometimes. You can definitely buy these very, very cheap online. So we're starting to see the Russians and the Ukrainians using more of these, which is pretty crazy to see. Finally, one last report from Current Report. Russian Foreign Minister Lavrov, there will be an immediate response if Ukraine strikes on Russia with long-range weapons. Okay, this was a big report coming out yesterday. Apparently, the Foreign Minister of Russia, Sergei Lavrov, stating this, okay, that if they have any kind of attacks taking place inside of their territory when it comes to long-range weapons coming from Ukraine, there will be an immediate response, okay? And what do you think that immediate response will be? Will it be a nuclear response? Would it be an attack on maybe a NATO member, maybe the United States? Because obviously the United States is probably the big honcho here, right? They call the shots when it comes to anything here, even in regards to NATO for the most part. So if, let's say, an ATACMS missile flew into Russia, would we see a major response of the United States? Would Russia attack the United States with missiles? I mean, obviously they have their nuclear subs off the coast of the United States. Sometimes they were just down near Havana in Cuba recently. Okay, so obviously this is a very dangerous situation, and we're getting closer and closer to the point where we could see American weapons or British weapons flying into Russian territory, and obviously Ukraine's been pushing for that. But I don't know. To me, it doesn't look like it's going to happen, and if it does, it'll probably be out of nowhere. But obviously, what we're hearing from Russia is they are going to respond if that is the case. So I hope you guys got something out of this update today, though, guys. That's going to be it for today's update. If you did get something out of this, please smash that like button. And also, if you enjoy my content, please consider subscribing down below. Hit the notification bell. That way YouTube can notify you. And with that, hope you all have a great day. Everybody take care and God bless. And we'll see you in the next one.